application lab of Merck Life Science. I'm by profession is pharmacy. I completed my doctorate with Institute of Chemical Technology, formerly known as the UDCT, which is in Mumbai. Uh, we are already being 45 minutes late, so I will not introduce more, but we can surely connect and we can have more discussion about that. Okay, what is good thing about what is happening in today's world is a scaling of the product. As you could see in the pharmaceutical world, what is happening is the drug product scale is too high, and in India based, we are the hub of pharmaceutical manufacturer, and we do want that most of the product should get each of the corner of world. We need a large scale up, and that is the thing which comes up in the mind of even the innovators, where the people do want a scale up, but what was their restriction was to have the batch manufacturing, and there are certain reasons. And then this is the thing which is going on in a modern world, that how we can do a continuous manufacturing rather than have the batch manufacturing. So before that, these are the four technologies which I could see that today's world is trending. So in the today's world, there is a continuous manufacturing is trending. Second one is the hot melt extrusion. Third thing is the 3D printing, and the fourth one is the predictive formulation. And what exactly these four things are going to solve our four problems, that is, one is the process feasibility. So whole these four technologies will going to disrupt the pharmaceutical world, means of how to design, for what is design, how to process, and how to predict. So all those things, like if you see continuous manufacturing, it will going to solve the process feasibility issues. Second one, the hot melt extrusion. Everybody is talking about many things to solve the problem, but what is important one in today's world is whether it is a solid solution. So in that case, if you see that the hot melt extrusion is coming up in a very good manner, and it is really being proving, so many products are working enough now, and more products are coming into the market. People, particularly on 505B2 product, class 4 molecules, NCEs, most of the products are being tried and tested on hot melt extrusion. Earlier, there were certain issues with respect to polymer selection in case of hot melt extrusion, but now it is get sorted out, and most of the industries do have the polymer which is specifically designed for hot melt extrusion, and same case it will go forward to the 3D printing. But whether this is something possible that you can predict your formulation, and that is one of the things which will going to come in the tomorrow's world, that is, can you predict your formulation using your API, using your quality aspect, your design, your viability, and you can do by chemical modification, mathematical calculations, can you predict which API will be more suitable with which excipient will give what type of formulation. So ahead of trials, no more there is a trial and errors. You can actually predict by a mathematical calculation and chemical combination, and you can be time saver. So these are the four technologies which are trending, which I want to give you just a feedback. But coming back to our today's session, that is a continuous manufacturing, by definition is nothing but it is a continuous feeding is going on for making of our formulation. Now this is completely look like a very disruptive thinking, because in traditional last 300 years, basically you could see even in Ayurvedic preparation or any other Asian preparation, we are doing in a batch manufacturing, right? And now as we are thinking of disruptive processing, now whole processes need to be revised and think differently or disruptively. So in case of continuous manufacturing, it involves the continuous feeding, that transformation into the process, and that is with a concomitant into the removal of output of materials and from the manufacturing process. So what is continuous manufacturing? By that way, it is very simple example. If I say that imagine that there is a house is burning, and what exactly we do is, by our own, we take a bucket of water and try to sorted out, right? 1, 2, 3. That is called a batch process. But if you call the fire brigade, what will going to be happen? It's continuous water, right? Which will be the most faster? Fire brigade. So this is the same mechanism. If you see, if you can apply in the pharmaceutical manufacturing, you could see from the synthesis. I'm not talking about just a formulation. I'm talking even from the synthesis. It is something is possible in case of traditional batch manufacturing. You should say that there will be a somewhere you are manufacturing the API that is going to be sent to the at plant, and then you are having the batch manufacturing, right? And then you could see that synthesis, crystallization. Then there will be a one part called shipping, go for blending, granulation, sizing, tablet press, right? But if you are in this process, there are possible that there are months will be required for getting a batch out for marketing and use. But if you see in case of continuous manufacturing, you can actually set up in a same block. Maybe it is a drop down. Generally, in case of pharmaceutical, we go by upscaling, right? But now it is a process. We can go by drop down. So you can actually ship your materials, crystalline it, synthesize, crystalline, and then it can be sized, and then it can go directly to the feeder. That is we call as a blending, right? And in that blending process, now there won't be a random sampling and testing, right? So everywhere in case of continuous manufacturing, there will be a process analytical tool will be there, or you can call it a process assessment tool. So these tools will be available like a NIR, Raman, you can say anyone, and these are the really being tomorrow's technologies where you can actually utilize into the processing, and you can, rather than testing a last, rather than testing a random, you can actually test continuously, so that each and every product, each and every step, you are ensuring the quality and content of the product. So you could see that using a PAT technology or active process control technology, you can actually do by continuous manner, and that is going to be happen within a days. So that means actually it saves your cost, it saves your time, and you are in a continuous manner. You can providing the product to the people. But looks like easy? Definitely not. So if the problem is so big, don't expect that the answer could be very, very simple. So from that perspective, if you see, there are so many challenges, and why continuous manufacturing also come into place. One is demand and supply versus production batch size. Demand and supply is variable, but production batch size is fixed. So you do not have the modulation from that perspective. Another one is process validation once in a product life cycle. That is a fixed. So once you are fixed your all parameters, all process and test parameters, that is validated, now you are fixed. But what happens if some of the excipients specification get changed? Take example of your API's particle size get little bit changed. What will going to be happen? That there are always be a kappa, right? Your batch are going in out of specification, you goes for the kappa. So, but in case of continuous manufacturing, there is continuous improvement and controls will going on. So as and when you are looking for, there is some space will be there where you can actually use those space for manufacturing the process. So process parameters are fixed in the batch manufacturing, but in case of variables, it is always be variable, but the quality won't be get compromised. Your quality parameters, your deliverables will always be there through continuous process. And then think that the challenges are too big in case of continuous manufacturing. If you say by just example of tableting, the blender is a center point. So all the tablet batch size or batch manufacturing is on the center of blender is going to decide the batch size. And that's why there are so many powder densities and primary deciding factors are be influenced here. In that case, challenges are errors in the steps in our manufacturing process. Sampling and anything, you can see that mixing time and so many design modules of your equipment will going to be impacting. Sampling procedure and methodology, at the same time, sampling testing and analysis workload is too high. That means your product at one stage, if it goes for sampling to analysis, it takes 2 days that your powders are lying in the RMG or blender. And that kills even that is a possibility, that there is a possibility to unload and loading, that is segregating the APIs. So handling of data and data integrity is again a question. But if you have a PAT tool, if it is a standardized and validated, there is no need to have a human error into the data integrity and data testing. So what is it all about? So continuous manufacturing, if you say direct composition, there will be so many feeders will be there, and every feeder there will be a continuous process, or you can call it as the materials will be flow, and on the basis of its flow, you will say that it will blend, and once the blend is completed, you will say that the blend will be tested by PAT tool, what is its content and all those things, and it will go for tableting. And once this tableting is there, you can say there are two diverges, that means it can go for bulk packing or this further process. And if you feel that there is a coating is required, then there is a coating, and then it can go for the packing process. So for example, if you see by that process, powder to tablet, it just takes 5 to 10 minutes, because the mixing is continuous. Now you don't need to be on the blender that it will be required 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. It is not fixed. The PAT tool will going to decide whether your drug is properly mixed or not. If it is mixed properly, it will go further. It will be tableting is going on continuously. Similarly, in case of the wet granulation, process is remain same. Only thing is that one another process will be adapted, that is called the granulation. But granulation, drying, and nowadays as it is a single pot processor, you could see that the granules are going to flow, and drying, milling, and it will go into the blending process. And similar process will be there with respect to all the things. What is important here I am showing you is that this is a NIR, and if you see the NIR spectrum, you can actually see that if it is the content varies from even 70 to 130, you will find that the overtone spectrums are need to be matched. So on the basis of overtone spectrum, the way you are saying in a IR, that is a fingerprints, right? In case of HPC, you are talking about pics, right? But in case of NIR, that is a near infrared, it is called as overtone spectrums. So this overtone spectrum, you can actually test how linear it is. And if you see, if you compare those tablets or those samples tested by HPLC, which is a primary method, and NIR technology as a secondary method, you can actually tablet by tablet you can actually test. Now what is the advantage of NIR or any PAT tool used in the process is you don't need to waste your product. You don't need to waste sample errors. Every product, every time you will get the data, and that data will going to be simultaneously get analyzed and showing you that whether your process is feasible, or I won't say feasible, but rather than it is called as accurate or not. So accordingly you can change your process parameter. If you need more time, you can say that you can mix little bit more. If you want, if your data is accurate now, you got the result, you can stop the mixing and you can go for the next step. So that continuous process will go on. So nowadays there are also the tablet based systems are also. So if you take a tablet sample, you can keep in NIR, you can still do the analysis. At the same time, NIR NIR probes will be get attached to these all the blenders. So in a feeder, in a granulation segment, everywhere you could find that the probes will be there, and that probes will going to tell you that whether the material which is coming in that feeder, whether it is a mannose-stearate or is a lactose or mannitol, they will have a library, and in that library you can actually taste and see that whether that material is right or wrong. So anything which is mishappening happens because most of our all raw materials which we are using in the product all are white, right? They have no name, and that's why if you see from the NIR spectrum, it actually taken care that which material is coming into the product. So past to present, it is. Did you feel that it is a new? But last 10-15 years, the process is going on, and there are certainly good number of products are coming into the market. If you see the landmark decision by FDA, that is the manufacturing change of Pregista, and that is by J&J. They have come up with the first product, and you could see that it is a batch to continuous, and a manufacturing testing cycle time is going down by minus 80%. And then if you say waste cut, it is minus 33. And if you see from requires 2 rooms instead of 7 rooms. So if you see from that perspective, you are actually in a very positive side. And from that perspective, if you see in 2002 only, that means almost 20 years back it is started, and now the products in the market. So adoption of modern manufacturing in 21st century. And in 2004 this analytical tool framework is designed, and 2015 all the products are get manufactured by the continuous manufacturing. So even though we are discussing today, but the product is already there in the market, and that's why it is a right time for India type of the pharmaceutical world. They should adapt also on a continuous manufacturing, and they can also use those type of things. So even in 2021, this is the ICH Q13 guidelines are also there, which are available for the continuous manufacturing. So you can surely go through that type of guidelines, which will really give you better sense of understanding in continuous manufacturing. So what are the advantage? If you say advantage, that like a reduction of cost, time, waste and space. And what is important one is quality assurance. That means that is a real-time testing rather than having the real-time release testing, and full support from the authorities. What are the challenges? The challenges are the understanding of process dynamics, because now you need to design the product according to what the process you are adapting. So it is a understanding of process dynamics are very important. Definition of deviations and deviation point. Quality by design from the beginning, not as a we can call as the random sampling or something like that. So process, excipient and API. Feeders, these are the limited numbers by space, because you cannot add 13 and 14 feeders, because you do have the 13 and 14 excipient into one product. So then blending and continuous uniformity is very much important. What we could do is we can only talk about these excipients and feeders of blending. If you see from that perspective, the feeding and blending in continuous manufacturing is a critical quality attributes, and that is something which actually taken care by the excipient and APIs. So as everybody is talking about quality excipient specification, out of the box specification which are really needed for formulation, what everybody is talking about is the testing and release of product, that is taken care by pharmacopoeias. But what exactly is needed to the pharmaceutical industry is out of specifications. That means what is the water content? No, even though pharmacopoeia says less than 2% of water, basically the process might be required less than 1% of water. So considering those facts, like you are talking about the maximum steroid which is having the surface area, but surface area, not every product is need that type of surface area. Probably that type of surface area needed for particular product where the dissolution is very, very critical. So from that perspective, the critical quality attributes of API and excipients are very important with respect to, if you are talking about just continuous manufacturing, then particle size distribution and bulk density could be very critical. And if you see from that perspective, feeding perspective, the flowability, that is of lubricant, amount, that is a glidant and API, sticking, if you have a cohesive material or adhesive properties, electrostatic charging, if you goes beyond the particle size, you will find that there is static force, agglomeration and attrition. Even though you are making granules, but during the blending and tumbling, there is a possibility that it is attrition happening and the powder characteristics changing from one step to 10th step. With respect to blending, if you say the flowability of mixture is very important. Blend uniformity, demixing, that is a segregation, then sticking, agglomeration, attrition. So all these parameters are important, and that's why if you see the today's need for continuous manufacturing is because of this blending space. You could see that more and more co-process excipient rather than one. Can you add two? Can you add three and make one co-process or admixed or complex process? I'm not saying that it should only a co-process excipient. It is a possible that you can bring a new excipient which could give you that type of product you just mixed. Go ahead. So in case of co-process excipient, it is a combination of two or more excipient, compatible, non-compatible. Is it fixed ratio or concentration, synergy functionality, and using suitable method of preparation, conventional or novel, address formulation challenges in the process. What will going to be happen is that co-process excipient in continuous manufacturing will have a reduced mixing element, less feeders will be required, reduce mixing time, improve functionality, and at the same time is quality and reproducibility of mixtures, right? And specific need-based product can be developed. So If the drug product manufacturer really need a product, the excipient industries are ready to have a customized product for particular application. So excipient industries are giving a shake hand with drug product manufacturing along with the equipment manufacturing. So this is the continuous manufacturing is not a game of one person or one drug product manufacturing only. This is completely a team effort where equipment manufacturer, because all pneumatics will be there, design space will be there. Along with that, there will be a excipient manufacturer, API manufacturer, regulator, and finally it comes as a drug product manufacturer to understand their process and requirements. So all these people can come together and build up the continuous manufacturing. And you know that in case of the co-process excipient, this novelty, because ultimately at the end of the day, regulatory will going to ask you the question whether it is a new excipient or novel excipient, and this will going to design of degree of novelty and amount of safety data requirement. If the product is already there in IRDs, there is no need of having anything as a toxicity requirement. But if you go on adding or discriminating with respect to IRD to mixture of IRD excipient, co-process IRD, non-IRD excipient, then from non-IRD excipient, there will be a requirement of more and more data with respect to safety and toxicity and safety of that excipient. What is important one is the critical quality attributes, that is the CQA, excipient API, bulk density and its particle size distribution. That will going to impact on your blend uniformity and content uniformity. And that is the only parameter which are required throughout the process until you get the finished product. So for that perspective, the really work is need to be done on API and excipient field. So earlier, in case of all our batch manufacturing process, you have this curve, right? And that is quite wide. So if you see, for example, highly variable or medium variable, now it is need that least variable. So expectations for continuous manufacturing, either it is a API, either it is a excipient, it is important that you have a very, very narrow variability. If narrow variability will going to give you the quality product every time. So what is important one is, it is not now, it is suit to purpose. Now it is requirement is of design for purpose. So every focus is going to be shift from suit to purpose to design to purpose. And for that purpose, it is required the first line, that is a distributive thinking process. Take example of here, which is very good for illustration, that, sir, at what stage we are adding magnesium stearate? In the tableting process, at what stage we are adding magnesium stearate? At the last step. Everybody since last 100 years, we are thinking the same thing. We are the first one who said that not it is required. We have blended these two excipients, mannitol and magnesium stearate, and we found that they have a different particle size and everything. And then when we design these two products together, magnesium stearate and the directly compressible mannitol, and two grade specialty, you can see that there is nothing changed actually. That is the change which we are keeping in our mind. But this product is completely designed only for the continuous manufacturing. And when we found that even by the what you call as hardness versus ejection force, there is no change at all. Hardness is also not changing that much, which we are talking about, right? And if you see, is there change in dissolution? We have found we are generating so many data. We found that is hardly minimal change into that, and that is also not in the degree of variability. So we need to change the thinking when it comes to the part of continuous manufacturing. So you need a distributed thinking to come up with new excipient, new combination, new complexing agent, new lipidic formulation, something like that, which will going to change the era or design space of manufacturing and scale up. So what is the take home message? That is a summary that FDA recognizes continuous manufacturing as emerging technology and understanding the process dynamics thoroughly. At the same time, process challenges need to be evaluated at every stage so that your continuous manufacturing is a successful one. Critical quality attributes for API and excipients are needed and defined for particularly for excipient and APIs, but high scope for research here. And when there will be adaptability, when there will be a research collaboration with academia, excipient, and machine developers. So all these three at the first stage need to come together, generate more and more data so that it will be available for a developer to develop something which is required for. So at this note, I will thank you everyone for attending my lecture. So basically, what is the question is how it will be cost effective, right? Now, if you could see now, if you are taking too many excipient, right? So too many inventory need to be done, right? At the same time, if you see in case of one process, if everything is going to be happen, your time is saving, right? At the same time, if you say testing required for each and every excipient individually, now in a co-process or that manner, you are reducing down that testing of excipient. At the same time, when you are talking about sampling, at every stage you are doing sampling and analysis at mixing time, granulation time, drying time. So that all things going to be reduced down by a process called Raman or NIR. And by that way, you are reducing time, you are reducing chemicals also. If you are talking about sustainability or environmental friendly, as you will going to use less number of alcohol, means isonitrile, methanol, and all those things. So testing will be reduced down. Everybody's low burden will be reduced down. And at the same time, if you see, if it that has already been tested by multinationals that by doing this continuous manufacturing, they are reducing the time and that's why the cost. So that is really being wonderful example which already been given by J&J and furthermore are coming. You will find that they are really being good in that case.